What is something you only know if you grew up poor? Your mom having to borrow money from you to pay for food bills. Also the embarrassment of people comparing Christmas gifts with you when they got expensive electronics and toys. I used to hate when teachers asked the class what they got for Christmas. Everything around you can be a toy. My action figure collection included a stick, a mason jar, an off-brand Barbie given to me by an older cousin, and a bunch of melted green army men that looked like a giant. We had the best adventures. This cereal box guitar, found buttons collected in an old tin, empty oatmeal containers with the lid intact, and empty tin cans with a few spoons as drumsticks. Et voila, a sibling cousin jam band. A slice of bread equals hot dog buns, hamburger buns, biscuit and gravy biscuit, makes a sandwich from any meal left over to make it more filling. Sloppy Joe bun, dip in soup. Like Eskimos and 17 words for snow, poor Americans have 17 words for a slice of bread. Walmart is typically 24 hours and is a good place to escape the cold and riffraff of the streets when you're a homeless kid. Also back when arcades were a thing, a lot of people would drop coins under the machines, so that was a good way to scrounge for food money. Also learned how to turn the water and power on in empty houses when I was willing to risk getting thrown in jail, which honestly would have been an improvement. My brother and I grew up harsh and with no support system other than each other. We still only have each other, but we made it through and the experiences made us better people. I hope you're doing good. Cheers. Making lots of friends meant you could go to other kids' houses and get invited to stay for dinner. I would always sneak something to eat back home for my mom. She never asked me to do that, but I knew she was hungry. The check engine light really isn't that important. Beans and rice are everything. Parents can be really good at hiding how bad it is financially. There are so many alternatives to buying brand new household items. The check engine light really isn't that important. You learn this one in large part because everyone you know is poor, and their cars have the check engine lights on as well. How to really stretch and reuse leftovers. How to make yourself feel more full on less food. Drink a full glass of water before dinner and add cheap figures to dinner like bread, beans, or crackers. Hunger naps. In America, if a price sticker on the shelf is lower than what it rings at, they have to give you the lower price. So if you know when they change their price tags, you can likely find some that haven't been changed out yet, giving you access to more lower prices, since they will already have started putting new ones up, too. This one is morally shaky, but it works. My mom did this one a lot since we lived far from the grocery store, and it saved us gas money from going multiple times during different deals. No matter how much you boil rainwater, it always tastes kinda funny. In America, if a price sticker on the shelf is lower than what it rings at, they have to give you the lower price. In Canada, it's even better. It's called the scanning code of practice, and they have to give you the lower price minus $10. You can get stuff for free. Rice can be an entire meal. My mom preferred it with butter, cinnamon and sugar. So can cornbread. If you're cold, put on another layer. Walk up and down the basement steps a few times. Drink some hot water. Sit on your hands, etc. You can water down skim milk to make it last longer. I still to this day can't drink anything thicker than skim. Gardens are a necessity, not a luxury. Other kids are greedy in their Santa lists. That's the only reason they get more toys from him. Hand-me-downs are your only option, at least until you're the tallest cousin by the age of 10. Garage sales take up a majority of your weekends. Always haggle prices. Dented cans are cheaper. Buy the recently expired or about to expire packaged food for cheap and then freeze it. That is, yogurt. Expired cake mix works up for mug cakes in the microwave just fine. 3 tablespoons cake mix. 2 tablespoons water. 1 minute in the microwave. A spoonful of peanut butter can be dessert. You wash and reuse plastic silverware and also reuse food containers as Tupperware. Now being an adult, I always buy 2 jars of peanut butter now. One is for making something to eat, one is for eating out of the jar. The eat-in butter is always gone before the mark-in butter. Old habits die hard. When you're at the end of your pay, it is possible to live off instant coffee and biscuits stolen from the office tea room just so your cat can have food. Feel this, my cat always ate first when this was a struggle. Finding our mum crying in the kitchen counting pennies when you can't afford a loaf of bread. As the eldest of 3, at the time, now 4, I was the confidant. Up until I was 7 it was a constant struggle to afford food, worse between the ages of 5 and 6. The crushing fear of asking for anything, even when it was a necessity. My thighs have always rubbed together and I'd only have one pair of jeans that fit, so I'd wear through the thighs in a couple months and end up chafing my thighs for weeks, and try to patch them by crummily sewing socks over the holes. It was a nightmare. Now that I'm financially secure and have like 6 different pairs of well-fitting jeans, I've had them all for well over a year and none have worn through yet. The guilt and anxiety in adulthood when you buy anything for yourself. The need to not feel like you could lose everything at any minute. Limiting your possessions on the chance that any moment you may need to gather everything and leave never to come back. How amazingly good toasted welfare cheese sandwiches taste. How awesome your first real pair of name brand shoes. Nike, Adidas etc. Cable television. I could go on all day but these 3 were, for me, the absolute best. Binging with Babish actually did some grilled cheese comparisons. The best is, ironically, American welfare cheese mixed with a little grated parmesan. Has the best melting point, coverage, and doesn't scorch like cheddar. Eating at McDonald's was considered a luxury. I think it cost around $25 to $30 to feed a family of 7 at McDonald's back then, versus, for a little bit more, maybe $40 to $50. My mom could buy a small bag of rice and some kind of meat, chicken, pork, fish, and veggies and feed our family of 7 for the entire week. This is all back in 1995. Shit. Feeding 7 people at McDonald's is way more now lol. What it feels like to hide your field trip permission slips, if they had a cost, from your mom so you wouldn't have to see her sad if she couldn't afford it, and then feeling bad because she found one in the trash and realized what you had been doing and started crying. Thrift stores are your friend. Wet Wild makeup was just as good. I grew up in the late 80s 90s so if we got new clothes it was a miracle and only from a Kmart that had $1 shoes, which I wore. Patching holes in your pants because you didn't always get new ones for every school year summer. Adults who knew your family story felt sorry for you and would give you gift cards to buy clothes at TJ Maxx or Marshalls. Also getting a computer was a privilege which we didn't have until it was given to us by someone. Charity. That your brain would get your further, grant scholarships, to college, which I was the first to graduate from both high school and college. I still enjoy thrift stores but am thankful for being able to provide what is wanted for my family. Many people have no idea what really having no money is like, choosing between what have-tos you can afford and which ones have to wait, and enduring the well-meaning why don't you just, from people who really just don't understand at all. My family just chose between paying the electric bill off and buying Christmas presents. Cell phones cut until next month. If you have $10 in your bank account and $10 in your wallet, you can deposit the $10 cash into an ATM to bring your balance up to $20 so you can withdraw it and get your last $10. When someone offers to buy your lunch, get the cheapest thing you can stand to eat. When someone at lunchtime doesn't have food, you buy food for them if you can, even if it means you go hungry for the day. My children are only in 1st grade but we're attempting to instill in them if any kid does not have a lunch, they should offer to buy them one. Our kids bring lunch to school every day but they have money in their lunch account if they ever need it. How to dumpster dive at Toys R Us. Also the value of chocolate milk at school. I used to trade it for a sandwich in case I didn't get dinner. My school had a share table where you could put and open food if you didn't want it and the table in front of the share table was contested property for this reason. 2 chocolate milks would get me through a night without dinner. Having to look at the price always when going out to eat with friends family. Ever since I was a child, my mother would always make me choose whatever things were the cheapest or not too expensive, even though we weren't even that poor. I think she was just trying to save money, by all means. That remark stayed with me until today, where I always feel a little bit of shame when ordering expensive food, which leads me to order the cheapest item on the menu even if it is paid by somebody else. It's just a little thing that stayed with me forever, even though I really have no need to keep ordering cheap. Sometimes it is useful though. It makes you consider what you are going to eat, pay more, but it is a psychological pain in the butt if you ask me. I have that mentality ingrained in me, too. For me it was especially if someone else was paying for my meal. I never wanted to be the one that cost someone more than I needed to. That teachers and lunch ladies are godsends. My teachers always asked me if I was hungry, had clothes, etc. The lunch ladies always gave me my lunch and breakfast for free, with extra food, because they knew it was the best opportunity for me to eat that day. I wouldn't say I'm super poor, but I'm still poor, but when never really had actual cable, so I would spend my days watching PBS Kids all the time, and that's how I learned in my free time. Hoarding. I am not nearly as poor as I was when I was growing up with a single mother, but I still hoard expensive items and use them as a last resort. I hoard medication even though I can afford it now. I hoard food items because I can afford them now. I think the feeling that you will lose everything never goes away after not having anything for so long. This hits home for real. I shouldn't have so many books and clothes, but I can't seem to get rid of them. Learning how to put someone else's needs before your own and say goodbye to pets at a very young age. Couldn't feed my pets. They were starving. Had to quickly find them a new home. Oh man, my heart just got hit hard. When we were super poor and getting Kool-Aid or pop was a rare treat. Sometimes we'd get iced tea powder from bulk at the grocery store as well. I remember asking my dad if we had anything to drink other than water, and he dug through the cupboards and he found some iced tea powder. Just enough for a glass. I was so excited. He mixed it up and noted that it wasn't mixing super well, but finally he gave it to me and I took a big chug. It was beef bouillon powder. Funny looking back now, but I remember how disappointed I was. Tortillas and Wonder Bread make perfect hot dog buns. Also, if you've ever eaten toast covered in meat gravy and thought it was a treat, crap on a shingle is delicious. That appropriately stocked spice cabinet can help make even the most humble meal less depressing. Also, drip coffee makers aren't just good for a cup of joe. I keep one that's way past its prime for ramen or making stock broth. Look, it ain't pretty, but it works. And leftover and edible animal parts are abundant in my family this time of year. I have enough carcass bits to make some succulent beans and rice until like March of next year. Also, condiment packets. Load up on condiment packets, even if you don't need them. Don't be a butthole and take an entire stock of salt pepper packs from your local Wendy's, but always grab a few extra. Staples aren't necessary if you just fold the top left corner of the stack of papers. Make 2 small tears on the folded part, and fold the piece in between the tears. The method starts to fall apart when the stacks get too large though, but it's great for school papers and minor projects. Just don't hand in your PhD thesis using the method. I hated it when school required things. I was once told everyone has a dictionary at home when I asked to borrow one for homework. That hurt. And being required to attend field trips and arguing with the teacher that no, my parents cannot afford $3.00 to attend a dang play. I took the bill and handed it right back saying that my parents can't pay it. Being a simple man. Not a lot of people understand why I don't strive for conventional success. I just want to be safe, warm, loved, and fed. I want for little more. This made me cry. I have a roof, food and a bed. People comment on why I don't have a TV, car or go out. To me, I'm way richer now than I have ever been. They don't understand that my simple life is plenty. I have luxuries, some knickknacks, a used laptop, art supplies, my only waste of money, and more than 1 pair of shoes. That is more than I ever had growing up. There are a lot fewer good options provided to poor people. It takes a certain amount of disposable income to get out of being poor. Lots of important decisions are left to chance because you can't afford any of the options. Yes, like getting a good job means looking better than you do at your poorest. Going with my mum to work as a kid, and having not more than 1 friend for my birthday outings with just me, my mum and my 1 friend LMAO. Free ketchup, mustard, butter, and or mayonnaise packets from the local fast food place make a tolerable lunch or snack when combined with crackers. especially if you can get some salad club crackers for free as well. I operate my own successful company now and still find myself eating the poor man's snack every once in a while. My sister, let's have a sleepover. My friend, my house or your house. My sister, I don't have a house. We did have a place to live, it was just a small apartment and there wasn't enough room for my friend over. Tortillas instead of bread for everything. We grew up within a few hundred miles of the Mexican border. Peanut butter on tortillas was a snack, a meal, everything. Also butter on them. Or if you're lucky, just cream cheese on a tortilla. Tons and tons of burrito type foods. It was always a great day when my mom would buy a jar of pizza sauce, shredded cheese, and a packet of pepperoni and make tortilla pizzas. Not laid out like a pizza, still rolled up like a burrito. Sometimes fried, sometimes microwaved. I still love to eat them now because they're pretty good and the nostalgia is so great. As a 2000s kid who had less than average income, I can get most of the questions right on those only 90s kids will remember quizzes. There are 90s things I legitimately thought were 2000s things until a few years ago. There are probably still things I consider 2000s things that were really 90s things. I keep forgetting DVDs were around in the late 90s and internet was common in the mid 2000s. How to quickly shut off all the lights and TV, draw the curtains, and sit quietly next to your mother and siblings for an hour or more while the landlord sits outside the front door wanting to collect rent. Living in rental buildings all my life, my family could never afford a house, but it turned out okay because life is crazy. Parents worked so hard but layoffs happened, so our living financial situation was always changing. Each of them worked 2 jobs at some point. Eventually they got divorced a few years ago and it was relatively easy without having to figure out who gets the house, etc. Because, well, there was none. A very simple divorce where my mom didn't even ask for money. And even after all this our family still helps each other out, if anything. What it's like to comfort your mother as she cried because you got in a fight over someone making fun of your shoes clothes. I didn't really understand it at the time. I thought she was disappointed in me, but now I know that she was crushed because she felt responsible for my hardship. I still get choked up thinking about how hard my parents both worked. Dad worked 2 jobs. We used to go with mom to clean condos, so dang hard to give us a better life. I'm just fortunate that my parents loved us so much and built us up to feel good about ourselves, regardless of what things we did or didn't have. I grew up with friends whose parents struggled just as much, but turned to anger out of frustration instead. The difference in where we all are 30 years later, I'm in my 40s, is astounding. I grew up poor as heck, but I still feel so privileged. If I gave my parents every single thing that I had, it still wouldn't be enough to repay them. Sorry, there's something in my eye. 1. I know about 20 different ways to serve rice. 2. You can stretch most recipes with water. Gravy is always served when you have a meat dish. 3. I once watched my mom fix a squeaky door with pan cooking spray. 4. It's easier to go without water than electricity. 5. When the power is cut off, you can cook a surprising amount of stuff over an open lighter flame with enough determination. 6. We are not really camping. 7. Canned beans are totally a meal. 8. You save a lot of money by cutting a meal out a day. 9. Better learn how to sew your clothes. Junkies are people too, but it doesn't mean you should trust them. If you get your hands on money, keep your mouth shut about it. OMG yes. You absolutely treat the nice junkies compassion but never trust them. Also junkies have superpowers and will always go for a cheap shot. Yes, I been punched by one. My dad told my sister-in-law's family, you must not like to work, because her family goes on family vacations every year. Our family is dysfunctional and have been scraping pennies for as long as I can remember. Her family is great. Maybe the wrong place to ask, so tell me and I'll delete it if need be, but I'm a teacher and our school is doing a Christmas meal box drive for families in need in our community. The students buy the food, standardized by a list, but the teachers round it out with non-food essentials gifts. I've heard people put in toothpaste, socks, etc. I don't have a whole lot of money, New teacher, living in affordable housing because I'm below the poverty line. So I can't solve everything, but I've got enough that I can and want to contribute valuable things to the box. I want to know, for a single parent family with 5 kids ages 3-12, what would be the best things I could put in there? Like, things that are constantly running out, or that you can't quite justify buying, or that you wish you could have for your kids, or that can be reused go a long way. It's a rural community based around a medium-sized town in a place that gets cold and snowy in the winter but hot in the summer. Note, the school already adds in gift cards. Toilet paper, nice socks. Everyone had Rogers and Bell. We used a ghetto version that stole Dish Network signals back then. Also, not being able to afford daycare, so I slept on office tables at my parents' work when they went to their early morning shifts. Finally affording daycare, and she was abusive. We also had to take the bus. Best part of being poor was the people around you were always nice. Nobody looked at you differently and treated you bad. My neighbors would take me with their kids to McDonald's once in a while. I grew up in a diverse community with friends from all cultures. Moment we went from poor to above average family income, standards were hard to keep up with. Dirt poor stories from World War II Netherlands. Eating tree bark boiled in water. Potato skins. Skinning cats and eating them. Cutting down trees in your local park for firewood. Freaking Germans for food. Stuff my grandmother told me every time I talked about not making enough money. Discount on soon-to-be parented food. Cereal as a meal. The ultimate combo. Bread and water. And bonus stealing food when being sent to de-groceries because you're too broke to afford half of your list. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.